that Super Bowl thing is that Travis, not Travis, yeah, Travis. That Taylor Swift's thing still in it. Like his boyfriend. Is he still like in the?
Yeah. Travis Kelsey.
So yeah, that's it. Yeah, he's still playing in it, innit?
Yeah.
Oh, they're still in it. And that's why it's so big, and that's why I think they've moved the Teofimo fight to Thursday because they know. No, but they know how big it is. They're like, we don't want to get caught up in that.
Even if like if she wasn't in that, it's a Super Bowl, bro. No one's gonna watch anything else.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. No, but then the crazy thing is like, you know how like fades are normal, right? Especially his haircut is normal. Like now you've got because obviously he's her boyfriend. You've got like bare of these magazines talking about how his haircut's like this new thing and it's cool. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, how is she that influential? That
No, but it was the same when sort of like what's her name? Kim Kardashian got like braids and whatnot, and everyone was just like, "Oh, the new trend," and it's like, it is what it is, isn't it? Like people like choose to believe what they choose to believe.
It's crazy, man. But the thing is, the last time we had a Thursday fight was Shakur and De Los Santos, and that was dog crap.
Was that on a Thursday?
Yeah, I remember. Bro, I had to go Friday prayers, but I prayed for forgiveness after that, man. That was such a bad fight.
Did I watch that and go to work? I don't. I remember watching it. But I must have watched it and gone to work. I must have went to work red eye.
You're going to wear red eyed and like pissed because like just a rubbish fight to watch. But to be fair, the fight before was good, the Navarrete fight. So
yeah.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringside Fracas. I'm your host Naeem, and today I'm joined by Jide. Jide, how are you, bro?
I'm good, man.
And I'm also joined by Mark. Mark, how are you, bro?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me on again.
Nah, so we always love having you on, bro. And Jide had to come on because this week, let's get straight into it. We were hoping, and because next week I had a big episode planned. We were going to do a big preview. We're going to get, the Fury fan Oscar on. We were going to get Say on because he wanted to give his take on this whole thing. We had the whole undisputed heavyweight fight coming. We're in that sort of mood. We're getting towards it. The big fight feels are sort of creeping in. And then I think it was Friday afternoon, we found out that Tyson Fury suffered a cut in training over his eye, and they had to call the fight off. And then I think today or yesterday, they've announced that the Fury Usyk fight has been postponed to May 18th. And of course, that kind of annoyed a lot of us because we were looking forward to this fight, and May 18th is still a bit of a while away, and there's a lot of emotions that we were kind of feeling when we found out that Fury Usyk was called off. So I'm going to start straight into it. Jide, you've been waiting for a bit to say what you want to say. What are your thoughts on this whole Fury Usyk being postponed to May 18th?
My enemy's 4, but my enemy's 4 is also a pain to me because I knew what was going to happen to this guy in 2 weeks. Man, listen, it's my uncle's birthday that day. Got a big party, Nigerian party. Now it goes. I'm not going. I was not going to go because of this fight. There were so many things that was happening that weekend that I was not going to entertain because of this fight. And then Tyson Fury does what Tyson Fury does best and fucks it up. Everyone knows the story of the boy who cried wolf. He cries wolf a million times. There's no wolf. The villagers ignore him. And the one time that there was actual wolf, everyone ignores him and he got eaten by the wolf. I feel like this is the situation. I'm not saying Tyson Fury didn't get cut. I don't know. I'm not saying, again, there's the conspiracy of him slicing his own eyebrow. Don't know. I'm not saying he didn't do that. But he's such a shithouse. He fucked up the Ustinov fight. He's fucked up Klitschko 2. He fucked up the first when the Dillian White negotiations was happening. Oh yeah, I'm on it. I want a diamond belt. Diamond belt came. He said, no, I don't want to fight him anymore. Fucked up Wilder 2 initially. They went to fight straight away. He pulls out. Tyson Fury regularly fucks up fights and pulls out for bullshit reasons that he doesn't have the benefit of the doubt anymore. This guy's a fucking shithouse. I was so upset on Friday when I found out that news. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this has to be a troll. This guy must be trolling. He was going to get his head bust up. I don't. It hurts. It hurts because I was going to eat in 2 weeks. I was going to eat because I was so sure of what was going to happen to this guy when him and Usyk get into the same ring. I don't care how much weight he's lost. He looks great. He's in great shape, but he's out here getting touched by middleweights, the same ones he calls Usyk. He's getting touched by them in sparring. The guy never spars with headgear. Everyone, David, what's his name? Journeyman. That was at Matchroom. That fought Usyk got stopped on his feet in sparring.
With a spoon.
Huh?
With a spoon.
No. I forgot his name. But he came out on the IFL interview and said he's been in multiple Fury camps. He never
Hunter.
sparred.
Yeah.
No, not Michael Hunter. Not Michael Hunter. But it says he's been in multiple Fury camps and Fury never trains with headgear. Other people have come out and said Fury never spars with headgear. I believe that, and I believe that's why he got cut. But then they now try gaslight us and create this scene of him with headgear and him getting caught with an elbow. That's bullshit. He probably sparred without headgear, and that's why that thing got cut. Michael Hunter came out and said this guy's a shithouse. He's known him since the amateurs, and this is what the Furies do. The reputation of Fury is there. The guy is a fucking shithouse. Turkey Al-Sheikh coming out and bringing my man like Suge Knight. Come on camera, sit with me, don't talk. If you don't fight on May 18th, you lose 10 million. This 10 million penalty this is the first time it's ever been done, you know. We have never seen a fight where if someone pulls out, there's a 10 million penalty, unless you lot can remember. I can't remember it. And that's because you can't trust Tyson Fury. There's the rumors from Johnny Nelson saying he was getting his ass beaten sparring. There's the Jao Pataya situation. This guy is not, he looks like he's in great shape, but I don't think he's mentally where he needs to be to fight Usyk. That's what I truly believe. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but I believe this shit was orchestrated. I truly do believe that. I believe they needed a bit more time to get his confidence back, look good in sparring, get sparring partners to make him look good so he can do what he needs to do against Usyk. I don't buy it. He's a fucking shithouse. And he was going to get his ass absolutely handed to him. But shit happens, man. I'm so disappointed because listen, that weekend was going to be my Super Bowl weekend. I promise you. I was going to be popping champagne. I was going to hit up tape after that. And buying every single bottle, man. Tables on tables. Listen, Fury's downfall is my W, but it's not happening. I have to wait for a couple more months. So, yeah, that's me, man.
I mean, the worst part of it was Jimmy saying Fury's done. Yeah, not really. I don't think he's done from there. It is a big hit to his reputation, of course. So the worst thing is I remember when this fight got announced, and I think it was just after Fury and Ngannou, or when the fight did get announced. You know, when they put it on their Instas on the build up to Fury and Ngannou, people were predicting Fury would find a way to pull out of this fight, and I think that's the worst thing for Fury, where the fights we're close to the fight, and now he's had to pull out, obviously because of sparring. Whatever issue it was, whether it's not he had stupid sparring partners for some reason throwing elbows, or just a mistake which happens in sparring, wherever it is, we wanted to see the fight. And the fact that people have called it out saying that they think you're going to pull out of the fight and it happened, it's a bad look on him. I can't completely blame him. My side is just because in sparring I do get it sometimes, shit happens and it goes wrong. It happens, but like that, you just have to move on. It's like in jiu-jitsu, you got guys that roll together and then someone tears their ACL because accidentally their leg got trapped in a weird move. It's the same thing happens in sparring, just anything happens. But it is quite frustrating that we're not getting the undisputed heavyweight fight, which I think we were all looking forward to. They literally released that sick promo this week with the whole.
That's the best, one of the best promos I've ever seen.
It's like Hollywood level style promo. It was amazing, and it really like, because the month of February came, it really got you into the mood for Fury Usyk. So that was the worst possible timing as well for the news to happen. Mark, your thoughts on Fury Usyk getting postponed?
I generally do believe that he was cut, but like Jide said, it's more about his character. Like we've seen it multiple times, and I think when someone's character, when someone reveals their character and they repeatedly do so, you have to like you can't give them the benefit of the doubt anymore. And we saw like even like, through like negotiations, how many times and this guy tried every single trick in the book to not fight this guy, and I'd like for Fury and his ability. I think this was like the one time he was very unsure about himself, and I think it sort of like manifested itself in the way it has because he. Let's be honest, he didn't really want to fight him. He was looking for a way out, and he, like Jide said, he probably felt like he needed more time. So I'm not even surprised. I do think that like moving forward, like he probably did need more time, but I'd rather him just be honest, man. I mean, I know like the public won't take to it, but like by his standards, this is just pathetic by his standards, isn't it? But I guess we moved to May 17th,
18th, yeah,
18th, May 18th. So all this is gonna do is just delay the inevitable, innit? Like I do believe he's gonna lose, innit? So all it does is just delay the inevitable.
yeah. Jimmy says hard fights, camps, not leading the life, all caught up to him. I don't think that's true in terms of that does catch up to fighters, and especially Fury, who eventually does. We're seeing that sort of in his last few performances. It is catching up to him, but I don't think that's to do with sparring. Like I said, sparring, anything happen, especially if you're not responsible, and you know, because you're boxing, and anything happened, and like that cut just happened. But it is annoying that we're not getting that fight. And also, that card was really good. Like typically, I wanted that card at least to go forward on that date because it was Jaya Pataya versus Breedis, the rematch. You could have headlined with that. Joe Cordina on the undercard, Moses Atama on the undercard, Jalalov on the undercard. Now the whole card is getting moved from February till May, and you got guys who are prospects like Itama, Jalalov, who you want to see fighting more often. You've got guys who've been in hard camps like Pataya, Breedis, Cordina, Anthony Kachich, who they're in world title fights and they've been ready for this. And now they have to shift everything suddenly because the two headliners of the headline is gone. But they know that they can headline the fight themselves. But obviously for the Saudis, they don't want these type of fights. They want the big fights. So if that's
also as well, yeah, for the fighters, yeah, these camps cost money, you know. So
Yeah.
like to do all these things, like I remember, I know we're gonna touch on it later, but like I remember like Buatsi was saying that like these things cost money, like so people like, having extended like personal chefs, having extended like personal trainers and stuff like that, like it's gonna cost money, especially like if you're not like the headliners and you don't necessarily have like the room to pay, and you're banking on like these sort of like big shows to go ahead. Like it hurts more than just like sort of like the big names.
Yeah.
For the guys like Opataya, Breedis, and Joe Cordina, for example, the new date is 3 months away. What do? You can't have a fight in between because for them it's a world title fight. So they're going to take, you know, where are you going to put it on? Because the Saudis aren't going to put it on anymore. Can't shift now. For the prospects, it's easier because what you can do is, okay, cool, that date is saved for us. We'll have a fight in between, or one or two fights in between. Like I can tell Moses Atama, Frank Warren will get him on a show somewhere quickly.
Yeah.
And Jalalov, he'll probably get an Uzbeki show somewhere, or Top Rank will sort him out with a show. But it's mainly for those guys that are in world title fights. Now, like you said, you've extended camp for 3 months now, and May isn't close. It's 3 months. That's literally another, from the date, it's another 12 weeks. That's a long time to not get paid and to keep paying for extra camp, to keep themselves in shape, and
also as well, you got to try and keep yourself like motivated as well. Like it's not easy.
Yeah, this is why I don't like about this is the fact that you have fights that are good enough to be its own card, and they could move it forward with the event regardless if Fury Usyk isn't on it.
Yeah,
but not because, like I said, the Saudis aren't in here. Right now they're not really in it to do boxing. They're in there to do the events.
Yeah,
part of the Riyadh season. They're not there for the building up. Like, you know, there are some people that are there to build up the sport in their country, and so that's why they'll put on these events and whatever. They're just there for the event, so it builds up the tourism and whatnot. So fair enough. Yeah, that's the frustrating part, because I was looking forward to a lot of those fights on it. And well, Fury, I think man, we need to see him. And that whole, like you said, Jide, that whole interview where he was with Turkey, it looked funny and a bit weird. Like it looked like when
under duress, innit? Under
yeah,
duress.
it looked like when Jay Prince got Kanye and just pulled him
Yeah,
on.
exactly. Yeah.
Like it looked very weird. And then they would have the interview also on Ariel Helwani's channel, which is again I get, but also find a bit weird considering his main shtick has always been MMA and not boxing. So to do all this stuff, but one I can't say good thing, but a silver lining that we're getting out of this is the Saudis, because of this bad news. Whenever bad news happens to them, they're forced to make a change and to give good news. So the new news that we're getting is Better Beer versus Bivol's now being done for June 1st. Like they said, it's done. I think they're going to announce it probably later, not now, because June's quite a while away. And they're going to combine it with that Matchroom versus Queensbury 5v5 card. So it's going to be the headliner being Bivol versus Better Biev, and then the undercard is going to be that whole 5v5, which I'm hearing, amazing. Which is great. It's a great. That's a brilliant summer fight to do. Better Biev Bivol and then Matchroom undercard underneath, and that's going to make a lot of money from that. And I'm hearing Anthony Yard is probably going to be the head, not the headliner, but the main fight out of that Matchroom Queensbury 5v5 card. So that's going to be, that's a good thing that we got out of this Fury Usyk postponement, is that good news that this has been done, because they do that. The Saudis, they shift when Wilder lost, they managed to shift the narrative and get Joshua Ngannou done straight away. So again, Joshua Ngannou isn't the big fight, isn't the like big boxing fight, but it's a big fight because people are going to watch it. So
yeah, financially, it pays for a lot of things. Yeah,
exactly. And the thing about Usyk is, this is how you know Usyk's about smoke. He was still sparring when he heard the news, and he said, "We want Hrgovic then on February 17th." But obviously, Hrgovic's team isn't going to take it because it's a world title fight. You're not going to take it on 2 weeks' notice. You'd be dumb. But the funny thing about that is, Turkey came on the interview saying Hrgovic and gave him like a list of opponents on the Ariel's show, saying these are the list of opponents he's got to fight on March 8th. So like Ajit Cabello, Daniel Dubois, Frank Sanchez, etc. Any one of those, he's got to fight one of those on that March 8th card. So let's see how that goes. But it is quite disappointing. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. I'm just saying, yeah, are the IBF like, are they just accepting the Saudis running their rankings? Because how can man just say, listen, I know you're mandatory, but hold up. Don't push for it. Don't do anything. These are the guys we want you to fight. Like the IBF can say, no, we want him to fight. Like, no. But these men are like, I don't care what you want. Like, this is what we want. We paying. I like the Saudis, man. I can't lie. I like the Saudis. I like the way they're moving. I like
it's exposing what's wrong with the boxing organizations. Like they don't have any. They're not consistent. That's the only issue. Is they're not consistent with anything that they do. All of them are always inconsistent. Like the IBF stripping Joe Cordina 2 weeks after winning the belt, but because he got injured. So and then
same IBF didn't ask Spence to defend his title for like 2-3 years. So
and then telling Crawford, okay, we're taking the belt away from you now. Like
they're weird, man.
Yeah, but they'll bend over for the Saudis and they'll let them have their undisputed fight, and then afterwards we'll see what happens. And that's why I said it's a good move from Joshua to not fight Hrgovic in March, because you don't know what's going to happen with that belt. If you know that when you do fight Hrgovic, that the belt could be on the line if they vacate it, if it's become vacant, obviously if the undisputed winner gets stripped, then that's a better proposition than fighting him without a belt, like for nothing. So here's a bit of a sticky situation, but that kind of May schedule has now gone from okay to amazing, because we're getting Inoue versus Neri in May. We're going to get Fury Usyk in May, and then in June we're going to get Better Biev than Bivol. So that is a great summer of boxing to look forward to. So there is a silver lining, and the thing with the Saudis is, the one thing we were kind of speculating was we thought Usyk and Fury wouldn't happen for another 6 or 7 months, because like it takes for both fighters, they don't fight that quite that often. Like they're not that active when it comes to fighting. So we did think, oh, we're not going to get this fight for quite a while now that it's off, but the Saudis have moved in and said, no, we want this fight within the next 3 months. So
Bro, he's holding up Usyk's career, bro. It's gonna be a year since my man's fought.
basically, yeah.
Like it's getting these guys like Fury ruin the sport. The fight should have happened 2 years ago, but you delayed, you ducked, you delayed. December it should have happened, but you decided, no, I want to fight in Ghana. You got embarrassed, and now it's delayed again. Usyk is not a spring chicken. These men need to fight.
Yeah, you're right. 100%. Man. It's just jarring to see. And if anyone's wondering where Fury fan Oscar is, he's currently out of the country and he's declined for further comment. So when we do reach him, we'll bring him on the pod and we'll talk about what's been happening, and he'll be able to give his case in front of us as well. So make sure to stay tuned in, because I'll give an announcement of when Fury fan Oscar's come back to defend his king. But moving on, the fact that we got the Bivol Beterbiev fight is something I want to segue into, because there's a certain fighter that I've wanted to see in with them for quite a while, and it should be next, but we don't know where his career is going. But last night, Joshua Buatsi fought his longtime friend and sparring partner Dan Azeez, European champion, in a fight that I thought was quite good. It delivered in terms of entertainment. It was an entertaining fight to watch. But what I expected to happen happened. What we most of us that we were watching this fight, when we were predicting this fight, when it came to it, we kind of thought that if this version of Buatsi turns up, he's gonna win the fight. And that happened. But we had a good back and forth kind of battle with Buatsi in the later half, kind of then clearing himself in terms of the levels and showing Buatsi that he's much better fighter than him, than Azeez. It was a good fight though. But to me, my only criticism, and obviously Mark, I know you're a big Buatsi fan, so if you want to retort back at me with this, I'm fine. It's just, these are good fights. So when we've seen Buatsi fight Richards, and we've seen Buatsi fight Azeez, both to me are both British, just above British level. They're above British level, just around that European, middling around that area. Them two, very good fighters. Hard to fight both of them. Trust me, it is hard. But in both fights, I didn't see anything from Buatsi that made me think he could do something to Bivol or Beterbiev. That I think he can definitely become a world champion, but not while them two hold all the belts. Only by fragmenting. If the belts fragment, then I can see him getting a belt. What do you think about that?
I agree. 100% agree. I think Buatsi is a good fighter, but I think Bivol and Beterbiev they're just too good. They're just elite. And with Buatsi, he's not the biggest like heavyweight. And what I've realized about him is because what he lacks in power, he has to make up in volume and pressure. And when I watched last night and the Craig Richards fight, it reminded me of it didn't remind me, but I just noticed that like he fights at such a frenetic pace because of he lacks the power. And I think against the elite, when you have to like sort of make up the lack of power by fighting at a certain pace, it leaves you susceptible to getting like KO'd or whatnot. So I don't think he's got anything to trouble like the elite, but I think sort of like anyone that's sort of like fringe level and whatnot, he can definitely sort of like he definitely make a goal of it and make it competitive.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like in that fight as well, and he's had this in many periods of his career. In certain fights where he has moments where he was having moments in the fight against Azeez where he looked like he was landing good shots, but then he wasn't following it up and drift in rounds. Whether it's a case of his gas tank, or maybe because he's just mentally, he's not always switched on in fights. He's not always going 100%. And Jide, before we went on the came on the pod, made a note of said that this, and I agree with Jide what he said. He said that he seems to have lost that killer instinct in him that kind of made him who he was originally, but then somewhere that just switched off, and we're not seeing that anymore from him. And I saw that again in the Azeez fight. There were so many moments where he was just letting Azeez back into it. Now, I said, whether it's a conditioning thing or whether it's a mental thing, it's something that's really going to go against him, against these big level fighters, because they're going to capitalize on those moments and they're going to really make him pay. Like, he was getting touched up quite a bit in that fight as well, but actually,
I think with him, I think it's more a case of mental rather than conditioning, because I think he's been the distance not quite a few times, but like more, he's been the distance a number of times for us to to know that he's capable of going the distance. So I don't think it's a conditioning thing. I think it's just a mental thing, really and truly. Because even like watching it back yesterday, there was times where like he was just being a bit sloppy, a bit lazy. Like he was allowing sort of Azeez to touch him when he shouldn't have. But again, I think he's got this thing where like he's always sort of like dragged into a fight, and sometimes like, it's not like the best thing, especially like when you go up levels. Like you can't sort of like go like toe to toe for with like the best of them. But I just think it's one of those things where like sometimes he's got a bit too much heart, if that makes sense. Like he's getting hit when he doesn't need to.
Yeah. Jide, your thoughts on last night's performance on Buatsi?
Yeah, both of you have basically said most of what I would say. Like, obviously, early in the fight when he's trying to see how Azeez is coming, Azeez had some success, but Azeez, like you lot have also mentioned, he's very readable.
Yeah.
So as the fight wore on, Joshua Buatsi read like he knew what his pattern was, and he started taking over the fight. But this is where my criticism comes in, which is what it ties in with what both of you have said. It's like once you figured him out, why are you letting him in the fight? Once you figured him out, why are you not getting him out of there? Once you figured him out, why are you making this
A lot harder than it should be.
harder than it should be? And it's like he's done it a few times now. Even
Yeah.
in the fights, he stopped some guys. Like you're making it a harder job than it really needs to be. Like we criticize Bivol a lot that when he fights guys, he knows he doesn't rate. It just goes through the motions and it's a boring dead fight. But it's a dominant fight. You can never say it's a Bivol fight is the dead fight. It's a
bad performance.
bad performance. It's just a boring dead fight because it just goes through the motions, whatever. But you know it just doesn't let you in the fight. And that's what I wanted to see from Buatsi. I want you, even if you don't stop him, completely shut him out. Like make him know there are different levels. Because when I'm comparing the light heavyweights of the country, I know this question gets asked a lot. I used to be Buatsi's the best, then Yard, then Smith. That's how I used to rank it. But I'm just looking at it now. I'm like, although in my opinion, Buatsi has a better boxing mind than Yard. Yard wouldn't let you off the hook if he's hurt you. If Yard is better than you, if Yard knows there's a gap between him and you,
he's
will
taking
know
you out. Yeah,
take you out.
we saw it with Lyndon Arthur as well. Like once,
like
he especially as he had the chip on his shoulder. I felt like Buatsi also had a chip on his shoulder, but he didn't sort of like go the full way. Whereas with Yard, when he had a chip on his shoulder against Lyndon Arthur, he was like, "Look, I'm not leaving anything, no stone unturned. I'm taking you out. Like I'm not leaving it to the judges. I'm not leaving people to have questions. I'm taking you straight out." And I feel like Buatsi, I don't know, like whether it's sort of like ring rust or whatnot, but he just didn't. Like there was times where like like the old Buatsi switched on where like he showed a bit of spite, but then it was just like he would go through it and sort of like regress. And I don't know what it was. Maybe it's the whole friendship thing. But like you said, like when you get to the elites, whatnot, you can't sort of like switch off and switch on. It's either you do have it or you don't.
Yeah. And exactly what you said. And I feel like he needs to have it. It's just quite ironic that he's with Virgil Hunter, and Virgil Hunter trained Ward, and Ward was a guy who didn't have power, but he had a lot of spite, and he was very cruel in there, if you know what I mean. Like
he's very ruthless in what he did.
Very ruthless, and I feel like Buatsi, I don't know what he needs to do to cultivate that. If Buatsi gets that back, if he goes back to the Buatsi that I saw coming up and marries it with his boxing ability, then yes, he goes back to number one for me, because on pure ability, for me, he's the best. But I just know the gap of ability isn't that where if Yard hurt Buatsi, he's taking you out.
Yeah, I think Yard can sort of close the gap with his physicality, especially as Yard's a lot bigger than him and carries more power than him. So it's like we can talk about Buatsi's skills, but it's like the bridge, like you can sort of like make a level playing field with Yard's sort of like physicality and even like his mentality as well. Like Yard's like Yard isn't someone that like crumbles under pressure. Like
Mm.
he's sort of like, if he gets hit, like we're going machine for machine, gunshot for gunshot. Like let's have it out in the middle of the ring. Like he's that sort of person, and I think Buatsi is like that too. But the fact that he's small and doesn't necessarily have the power kind of like negates all of that. Yeah. So I thought Buatsi's performance was a decent reminder of his ability, but I don't think he did enough to suggest he could beat Yard. But I think it poses the question, like, what would the fight look like if they fought, if that makes sense. So it was a good enough performance to make people think, oh, he's not washed, but it wasn't enough to make people think, oh, he could beat Yard. But there's still a question of what happens if they meet, just because it's boxing and you just never know in it. But
I wish Buatsi was still in Matchroom, man. That Queensbury versus Matchroom,
boy,
Buatsi headliner would have been
sick. That would have been sick.
That would have been amazing. But that's just how shit happens.
What it is, man. But I think Buatsi still needs another fight. I think he still looks kind of rusty in there. Like I know he's like the mandatory for the winner of Bivol Beterbiev, but what was it, two fights in a year? Two fights in 18 months?
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good.
I don't think he can go into a potential Yard fight on the back of those two fights. But what I will say about Buatsi is that he kind of strikes me as a person where he raises his level according to the opponent. But at the same time, you can't always be dependent on that, because it's so hard to sort of like switch yourself on and off. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with that, but this is what I'm also saying. It's like, while that might be the case, we've not seen him at that level.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not seen him at that. And again, if I was his manager, what he's done, I would do it as well. He's not beating Bivol. So when Eddie Hearn tried to make that Bivol fight, you're losing. In my opinion, he was going to lose that. So his people were like, nah, fuck it, let's not take it. And that makes sense. But I feel like the belts will splinter when the undisputed fight happens. He needs to pick up a belt. And then once he picks up a belt, you need to fight the world level guys now. There's just no...
Yeah, he can't go back now. It's boring now.
Go back down. Smith has fought Canelo. He's fought Beterbiev. Yard has fought Kovalev. He's fought Beterbiev. You have fought none of them. That cannot be the case, bro. You've got to bite the bullet. Go roll the dice. Yeah.
And I also think, even if you lose and you put up a good performance, your stock still rises. Like we've seen it with Yard. Like, bro, like if like people are too fixated on like a loss, but like you can still like be a winner even if you lose. Do you know what I mean? Because you would have, like, the way we talk about Yard, you would have never thought that he lost to the world's best. You would have thought like he's won, like the way we talk about him, like the way like his stock has grew and the way a lot of people back him. But again, he's proved that he can still be a winner with a loss. So I think it's about time that Buatsi sort of puts his foot on the engine and just says, look, we've beaten British level guys, European level guys. Let's start mixing with the big boys. Like we have to. He's not, like you said, he's not like he's 30, 31. Like like time waits for no one. Like he needs to get going. And I'm not particularly interested in a Buatsi Ben Whittaker fight or anything like that. Like it does nothing for me. Like so he needs to sort of like step it up.
And that's the thing with Buatsi, it's like this was also a sidestep. He's already been British champion before. He also beat the European champion Bolotniks, I think it was like 3 years ago during the fight camp stuff. So it's you're right. It's time to stay out. But then I also understand what you say is he needs another fight, and I think we're probably gonna get that, where while boxer wait for the world title scene to sort of clear itself up and try to get a vacant world title, they'll put him in another fight. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him in with someone like Lyndon Arthur, for example. And they just use that to kind of keep pushing him by putting him in with another British name, but they know that that British name isn't that good, and they can just keep pushing him. Time's not on his side. He's not old, but you've been around for quite a bit. Like that 2016 class, it's 8 years since that 2016 class, that Olympic class. Like you need to get going with your career, and you need to show that you're going for greatness. And we want that from him, but we're not really seeing that from him. That's the issue. And his boxer's big signing, and they're gonna try and make him like their guy for O2 Arena for selling that out.
We need to get the yard fight in the O2. We 100% need it. I don't know the sort of like the road plan, especially because yard's probably most likely going to be in Saudi and whatnot. But we need a yard fight, man. Like, there's no better time for it. There's actually no better time for it. Like we actually do need it.
Risky on Buatsi side. That's what would not happen. Unless the Saudis come and say, listen, you can have the fight in the O2, and we're going to pay both you man 10 million each, then yeah.
They'll never
but that would never happen. It's
it's a shame that like something has to happen first before we see the fight.
They've already seen Riyadh season, because before Riyadh season was meant to be just between October and March. Now all they're doing is, okay, we're going to miss out March, the end of March, because obviously Ramadan, so they can't put any events on. But now they've just scrapped the whole October start date, and they're doing stuff in Saudi Arabia in June, because before the initial plan was you do it from October to March, so any other fights in between get made in London or wherever it is that you're making it. But now the Saudis are going, no, we'll just start making it in summer in Saudi Arabia. So if the Saudis do put up Yard Buatsi, they'll take it over to Saudi Arabia, and I think that takes away from that type of fight.
The essence of the fight is sort of like the whole, like, it's like the whole British rivalry thing. It's like sort of I was gonna make a comparison, sort of like, it's not necessarily, when I make this comparison, I don't necessarily mean sort of like the profile of the fighters, but it's more like the fever of the fight. You know, like sort of like when we had like Groves, the Gale, like that sort of like fever, like like it needs to be in Britain.
It's like AJ White, but just a bit less.
Yeah, like it needs to be in Britain, because the whole thing of that fight is who's the best in the country. Like if you take it elsewhere, it loses the essence of the fight. And whilst it's still a good fight, there's nothing as good as a all British scrap. Do you know what I mean? So, and also as well, like without sounding like unprofessional, that fight's bringing the hood out. I'm sorry. Bringing the hood out. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like we need. That.
I'm going to the O2 for that one. Definitely.
We need that, man. Like for the culture, we need that fight. So yeah.
And that fight doesn't even need a world title on the line. Like look at AJ and White won. Like how big that fight was for London. So they can do it themselves.
That promotes itself. And it's just, and I feel like the fracturing in the politics of boxing has made domestic big fights harder to do, because in the UK we've always had a tradition of domestic rivals fighting. It's always happened. It's always been the case. But now it's like this current stretch, we just don't see it happen as much. We didn't see, obviously we haven't seen Yard versus Buatsi yet. There was what was it?
Woodley Clark took its time now.
Woodley, like that should have back in the day, that would have happened way back. That would have happened straight away. It's like, I don't know why. I just hope we don't adopt this American view of promoting fights. It needs to. That shit has ruined the sport. It like fight. As long as both of you put a great performance, you can still be world level. Like we said, AJ White. White's stock rose because of how we fought that day. Obviously, he got knocked out, but then after that, he came back and he was knocking guys out. So I wish Buatsi Yard happened before any of them, like happened before Yard fought for world title. I wish, but you can only wish for so much. I just hope it eventually happens, and I hope it happens before both guys are quote unquote on the downturn. So
yeah, I think ideally what they would like. I know it's like hypothetically, what they're just hoping that one of them brings a world title back, but it's just like it doesn't need a world title. Like, you know, I think people forget it. Some of Britain's best clashes have happened without a title.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? In fact, majority of them have happened without a title. Like, so I don't know. Like, there's just so many hurdles to overcome to get that fight. But like Jide said, like, let's just hope it's not done when it's too late.
When it's past the sell-by date, basically, yeah. Because that's the last thing we'd want is a fight like them two and happening when it shouldn't happen. When it should. Now you've got the momentum, make it happen. But we'll see, because obviously Yard is back next Saturday on the Hamza Shiraz Liam Williams card. So let's see what the plan is for him after he has his warm-up fight next week. But with Buatsi, I mean, you're now at that position where, let's be honest, he's not really challenging for greatness. Because if he was, he would have, in that post-fight interview, he would have been like, I don't care about undisputed. Give me Bivol right now. I want to get in the way of that. You know what I mean? Like, there are guys out there who sometimes they'll get in the way of the biggest fights because they want their shot at the world title. Buatsi's not that guy. Buatsi's like, we'll sort it out. Whatever's next, the business makes sense. We'll do it then. And I think that's why you've seen kind of when he did come out of the Olympics, there was this big following behind him, and rightly so, because he was a very good Olympian. Like, if people didn't know, he had a very elite amateur career. Like, he was someone that people thought were going to be the next big thing in Britain because he was that good in the amateurs. But since then, it's kind of fallen apart for many other reasons, which we've covered many times when talking about Buatsi. And let's see how his 2024 goes, because I do hope he doesn't have 2 fights this year. He needs 3, a minimum of 3. You can't stop doing these big holidays where then you come back after like 2 months or 3 months. Like, you need to keep active. So let's see how he does there. But on the undercard, we also had we had the announcement of obviously Wardley versus Clark, which I think is a good fight. I think that's a good fight. It's happened a bit too late, like we discussed. It happened a bit too late, but it's good. I expect Fabio Wardley to win because I haven't seen much from Fraser Clark for me to warrant him like winning. Like there's nothing from his career or his performances that told me that he could really provide a test. But for Fabio Wardley, it's sick because he just took on David Adelaide, and now he's going to take on Fraser Clark. So that's 2, like we were talking about, 2 domestic rivals. Yeah. If he looks good against, he's going to just keep building up his profile. And look where he's come from. Them 2 are from 2 different backgrounds. One guy's an Olympian. He's had all the, the bells and whistles when it comes to the coming into pro boxing. Everyone knew who he was. People wanted to sign him straight away and try to put him on that fast track. With Wardley, he came from white collar boxing. He didn't come from that normal traditional style boxing of doing the amateurs and everything. And look where he is now. So big up them 2. The only issue, but I question it is the thing I question is, are they big enough to headline the O2?
No,
not by themselves. If they put together a good card, then it could potentially be an O2 fight, but not by themselves. And O2 is what, 20-30K?
Yeah.
I don't think like neither of them have like a massive profile. Like, I know like Wardy's sort of got like, he's from Ipswich, so he's got like a large Ipswich following. But Fraser Clark's probably like in terms of like heavyweights in this country, you've got obviously AJ, and you've got Fury, White. Who else am I missing? Like, he's probably like Fraser Clark's probably like the 7th like no heavyweight in this country. We're talking about like people like Johnny Fisher probably having a bigger following than him. Like, and he's
that makes sense because of his dad now, innit? Because how big his dad.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, people would rather go and see Johnny Fisher than like Fraser Clark, and I don't know, man. That, for me, I don't think as a casual or as a boxing purist, you'd want to see Fraser Clark by itself. Like, if he was on a card full of like sort of like great fights, and yeah, but as a standalone fight, nah.
They also on the same broadcast they didn't announce when it's going to happen, but that it's going to
CBS, CBS reactable. But that's going to happen in Bournemouth apparently.
Which makes sense because Billam Smith is a big Bournemouth guy, so
yeah. I mean, I personally think they can move him into London. I do believe they can move because I think
Okoli fucked up with that.
Yeah,
I do think he's fan friendly. So like, I think they can. Yeah,
he's fan friendly. The issue with him is he's
a dancing partner, isn't it?
You know he's gonna lose. He would have lost to Masterneck if Masterneck didn't pull out. Like, know he's gonna lose to a decent opponent, even Opataya. Know that he'll lose to him.
Yeah. Listen, all them guys are happy. My man got stripped. I just hope he gets it back against Breeders. They're all so happy. My man got stripped because you can avoid him.
Mr. Johnson Boxing Talking More says he thinks Clark is gonna win, which I do understand.
I haven't seen enough from Clark. I just think he's a big lump. I just think he's got a big lump that throws that fights in a amateurish way, like the Olympian way. Like, I just think he's got a lot of size. Pause.
We saw his debut on the Kell Brook Khan undercard when he fought that security guard that they found on 1 day's notice. Um, but I haven't like he was always getting. I remember in the last year, he was getting annoyed with the matchups because he wasn't getting the correct opponents that he wanted to test him, and that's why he hasn't looked that good. But I just thought the way Wardley dealt with Adelaide shows you that Wardley's a good level domestic level fighter. I don't expect Wardley to win a world title, but I expect Wardley to get to like European and get to that level around. So I do think Wardley is going to win, but we'll see. And it's a good fight to make for boxer. It's definitely one that you should tell a lot of British boxing fans to watch because it's going to be fun to watch. Chris Welch also says Wardley's levels above Clark. Yeah, I agree. I think Wardley's much better than Clark. Also on the undercard, we had. I'll come straight to Ben Whittaker first. So Ben Whittaker obviously stopped Khalid Gradier in 5. What are your lot's take on? Because I think this is the main talking point about Ben Whittaker right now, other than his performances, because he's not fighting anyone worth a damn. What are your thoughts on his showboating? Showboating in the ring. Jide, I'll come to you. What do you think about the whole Ben Whittaker show?
The thing is, I'm not the typical don't showboat. Like I'm not that guy. My favorite boxer of all time is Roy Jones Jr. So I cannot be that guy. However, let's have it right. There was a guy called Josh Kelly. What happened to Josh Kelly when he was not? Let's not do what happened. Josh Kelly was doing all this shit against British level, against Southern area level, North London level, them sort of guys. He was doing all this fake Roy Jones Jr., Prince Nassim, flashy. He was loving it. He was living the life. Then he stepped up to world level against a guy who knows how to cut off the ring. And this is not a guy who's even like the best world level. He's like the gatekeeper of the elite.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came up against that guy who just saw that bullshit, cut off the ring on him, wore him out, and stopped him. Prince Nassim, the everyone's favorite, who I always be like is way overrated, but again, that's a different argument. That's a different conversation. Again, he was doing all this shit, got to world level. He was still doing it and was still successful. However, he was getting clocked more. Guys were landing on him. They were dropping him a bit more. Then he went and fought a legend and what got destroyed. My issue with Ben Whittaker is it's nice to do all this shit against this current level of opponents. Yeah, for him. Because I think it's washed because why are you doing this against guys you know you can get away with it? But anyway, it's nice to do all that. But you're gonna develop bad habits. You're gonna think you can do this against everyone. You're gonna come up against a guy. Maybe you get away with it once or twice, but he's read you. He knows your pattern. He's gonna clock you and he's gonna knock you out. I don't want a guy like again. It's nice to be flashy and stuff. Don't get me wrong, but your flash can't be I'm making leaving my chin in the air, exposed in certain angles. I'm looking at him and thinking, if he fought Buatsi, he gets his ass whooped if he does any of that. If he fights Yard, he gets his ass whooped. And I'm not even talking about Bivol and Bateviev here. I'm talking about British level because he thinks he can beat them guys, and I love his confidence. I absolutely love it. But if he's fighting any of his domestic rivals doing any of that shit, he gets stopped. He gets beat. And his fans think, people are hating on him. It's not even hating on him. I'm not criticizing him for what he's doing. I'm criticizing him because he's doing it against guys where he should be learning certain things. He should be learning how to set up certain shots. He should be learning how to throw a jab, how to maximize his athleticism and his boxing brain. Again, when people mention Roy Jones, he's not Roy Jones. He's not. No one's Roy Jones. And Roy Jones wasn't this like he did that shit at the very, 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 very top when he's completely proven and outmatched his opponent. You're out here flexing on guys the same level as Naheem. Like, come on. Like, sorry, my bro. But, but like, it's like flexing. It's like me sparring him and you're flexing on me. Like, bro, of course you should be able to do that against me, bro. I'm no one. Like, you're not learning anything. And that's my issue with him. Because I think he's supremely talented. And I want him to be an elite light heavyweight for the UK. But I don't want him to be out here looking like a prat and get knocked out in the most embarrassing fashion. If he wants to make himself a villain and that's how he wants to promote himself, fair enough, innit? That's what you want to do. But I want to see the best Ben Whittaker. I want to see the elite light heavyweight talent to carry on the torch of Great Britain, which is one of our best divisions. Super middleweight and light heavyweights, traditionally one of our best divisions. And I feel like he's the next one. So act like it. Like, I'm not saying be some robot, boring guy, no, but doing like certain moves against guys that it's just overmatched, to me, it does nothing for me. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and look, respect me. Yeah, I've been in the ring with better opponents than Ben Whittaker has. Yeah, so respect me a bit. Yeah. No, but I agree. I feel the thing about it though is Ben Whittaker's in that position where he's not having good opponents, but he is getting people to talk about him. So even if he had got these amazing knockouts, I feel like he wouldn't be talked about as much if he didn't do the showboating. So there is that. He is building his name in one form or the other. Whether you agree or not, people are talking about him. I saw recently Ice Cube's son, who's the actor, he posted a video of Ben Whittaker's performance last night saying, "Oh, who is this guy?" So even people that are outside of the boxing space, they're starting to talk about Ben Whittaker. And we're going to see that. And I done a whole scouting report before he made his pro debut, and I said he's going to do that showboating. It's going to divide opinion over him. People are going to hate him. People are going to love him. But he's got a mix of both Thomas Hearns and Roy Jones, in which he's not obviously at that level yet, but he shows glimpses where he's got great offense and he knows how to turn that power over in his punches. But then he's also got elite athleticism, which is going to separate him from a lot of these guys in the weight class. But he's got to get onto a boxer and say, look, we need to step up the level, because like you said, if he fights these levels consistently, he will develop those bad habits. And the more he steps up, the better his development is. And we're not talking about some new fighter. We're talking about an Olympic silver medalist. This guy has been to the top level before. He knows what the top fighters are like. He has that experience. He should be like Andy Cruz, similar to him. He should be on that fast track to, okay, let's kind of move him more quicker than we would with someone else. But another issue that you have with him is he's very injury prone. His body doesn't hold up quite well. He went pro in 2022 he went pro in 2022, and he's only had, I think, 6 fights or 7 fights. And mainly it's not because he's been, taking off. Yeah, he's had 6 fights. And he started in July 2022. So it's almost been 2 years. But it's mainly because he's had a lot of injuries. Like his pro debut got delayed by a year because he had surgery on his shoulder, I think it was. And then when he fought on the Usyk AJ2 undercard, got injured in that fight 6 months out. So he's had loads of injuries in his career, stopping him from being active and putting a string of fights together. So there's that issue that we're going to have with him going forward, where when he did start his career, there was a lot of buzz around him. Now it's kind of getting back there, but he's lost quite a bit from it. So it's going to be interesting to see how his career goes. Mark, how do you think what are your thoughts with that, and what are your thoughts with him as a whole?
It's a weird one, because I think in terms of ability and talent, he's got it in abundance. But a part of me is just like, sometimes I don't even want to see a show, but sometimes I just want to see him do like a clinical job on someone. Like for me, yesterday I was getting a bit frustrated watching it, because like when he has like the guy hurt, it's like he would step off so he could showboat, and it's like, just get him out of there. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you could do your whole showboat and things like once or twice, whatever, but it was just like he was doing it throughout the fight. And when I was watching, I was just like, can he go through the motions? Because I was just questioning whether he could go through the motions, because like it felt like he spent more time showboating than he did trying to get the guy out of there. And I think he needs to find the right balance, because we do like the showboating and whatnot, but we also like getting it's like seeing knockouts and whatnot. And like people say, you don't get paid for overtime in the ring. Like sometimes we just want to see him blast his man out of there and get. But it's like he's too sort of like focused on the showboating. But I guess it's different horses for different courses, isn't it? Some people like it, some people don't, isn't it? But for me, I think the best way to capture the public's imagination is knockouts. Like it doesn't need to be the whole dancing and like one shot, like even like when he was fighting, right? Like the efficiency was sort of like frustrating because it's like he'll throw like one shot and then go back to walking around the ring. Whereas put your shots together. Like let's see something flashy with the shots, like rather than like dancing and whatnot. Like put your shots together and get him out of there. But it was like you threw one shot, then you take a walk around the ring, might do like a little dance, and it's like, bruv, like it's like showmanship and whatnot. But it's like just get him out of there. You don't get paid for overtime.
Yeah. It's like what Jide said with Josh Kelly. A lot of thing when Josh Kelly was coming up, he'd make you miss, but he wasn't making you pay. So you kind of like, well, that's kind of pointless doing all these slips, and you're not kind of making him pay when you're in the position to make him pay. So you're right there. Chris says Whittaker is a special talent, but his showboating nonsense will lose in fights because all the rest aren't going to have it. I like to see Whittaker against someone who can hurt Whittaker, and then we'll see what he does then. Yeah, that is true. Like
who would you put him in next?
You can't. That's the thing. I don't know because, like I said, I don't trust his body, so you can't put him in a hard fight where he has to have a hard camp. But you obviously do have to step up the level. So I'm not sure. It's like it's going to be someone we don't know, but someone probably better than Gradier, his last fight. So we'll see in it, like what they decide to do with him. I just hope it's someone that's gonna really test him a bit more. We haven't seen him in a test yet. On the undercard as well, we saw Adam Azeez win his fight by TKO. Obviously, Paulson had a dislocated shoulder, so he couldn't continue. It was a bit funny. Paulson had a dislocated shoulder, and then Azeez started doing backflips in celebration. But then he came out on Twitter and he did an interview with Sky saying that he didn't realize, he thought it was the body shot maybe or something like that. So he thought he won by knockout. He didn't realize and he apologized. So, fair enough to Adam that he owned up to and he apologized for backflipping. But the only thing, there's not much to talk about with Adam because it wasn't a long fight. It was 5 rounds and there wasn't a lot going on in it. You'd hope that there would be more going on. But I think he's on that path where they're just going to keep slowly. He's European level now. He's European champion. They're going to slowly up the level with him, and we'll see him hopefully active a bit more this year. And they're going to eventually build him to a big domestic fight. Now, whether that's Dalton Smith, which I don't think it will be, or maybe even Harlem Eubank, that would be a good fight. Harlem Eubank at 140 would be a great fight to watch. What are your lot's thoughts on Azeez in general? I'll come to Mark first.
I think he's a good fight, to be fair, but like with last night, like that fight didn't really show me anything I didn't know. Like yesterday's fight seemed it was a bit more of a sparring match. Like there was nothing really going on. Like nothing that showed me anything new in regards to Azeez. But yeah, I guess all that matters is he got the W and he moves on to the next fight.
Did mute?
Sorry. Same way. I didn't learn anything new. I think he's a good fighter. I'm quite excited about him. I would like to see him step up. Like I said, the Harlem Eubank fight. I would like to see him tested. Essentially, I want to see how he looks when he maybe doesn't have the physical advantages over his opponents, and see what he does there. But I do think he's a good fighter. And I just want to see more. At this point, I can't say too much about him. I just see him as just a prospect. So when he starts showing me a bit more, then I'll have more to say because, yeah, I expected what happened yesterday.
Chris says was just a job done for Azeez, not his fault about the injury. It's just one of them ones. Azeez was still winning the rounds before that. Yeah,
it was winning. It was comfortable.
Yeah,
like, it's not like he was struggling. So it was just that we want to see him more. So hopefully he gets another fight. Like these guys, when they're at this level, they need to be fighting 4 times a year for me. Like get out there as much as possible. So yeah.
And moving on to another prospect that had a showing last night that wasn't that great, Conor Benn. I mean, that me. I remember this year when Conor Benn was coming up, when he was beating like guys like Algieri and Van Heerden and whatever, and everyone's kind of on that Conor Benn wave. Me and Mark were the only guys in the chat that were saying we do not rate him at all. his
Yeah,
skills, and it's showing. It's not like, oh, there's a high, I got you. So it's just sort of you're seeing the skills show up because he's not fighting semi-retired, aged out fighters like Van Heerden and Algieri, who are doing other professional jobs other than boxing when they came before they came back to fight him. And you're also seeing him off the juice. Sorry, but there's a big difference. You can say, Mo, he wasn't on the juice, but there's a huge difference between his performances against Algeria and Van Heerden and his performances against Orozco, which he had like a couple months ago, and against Dobson. He doesn't look the business. And the one thing I tweeted on the account was they need to get him in a big fight soon, because if you do these tune-ups, he could actually lose one of them, and then his stock will just go through the mud. You need to get him in a Eubank fight, or now they're talking Tank, or they're talking Haney, whoever. You need to get him in a fight where it's a big fight, and if he loses, his stock won't go through the mud because he lost to that fighter. But there's nothing special about him, really, to me, that just never been.
The thing is, I think he was good in it. Like, what I mean good, obviously I'm not here to say he's like the greatest thing since sliced bread, no. But I think he was good, as in like he had his viciousness. That's something you can't teach. And for a man who started boxing relatively late, he developed he was a decent level pressure fighter. And when he was stopping guys, again, we say it, I feel like all these guys use something in it. I don't know what he was using and how frequent. I don't think what he was using made him more powerful. What I think it did was make him be able to unload that power more frequently. So his stamina was high, he could unload more shots and stuff like that. That's why I was maybe getting guys out of there. But that viciousness was always there.
Yeah.
What yesterday showed me, though, is you've been out of the ring for a year, almost 2 years, and it showed. Like, he looked bad to me. He looked so bad. And he got the win against Dobson, who's not done anything, who is so many levels below you, but you made it a fight. Like, this is embarrassing. Tank, aka P shooter, the guy likes calling guys out, yeah, that he knows he's gonna stop. He knows he can beat. When they're talking about the Haney fight, they're talking about they need to get him they need to weight drain him. He needs to accept this. He needs to accept that because he knows the Haney fight is tough. When they talk about Shakur, they're talking about he's boring, brings nothing to the fight. But my man is telling Eddie Hearn. He hates Eddie Hearn. He's Eddie Hearn. Let's make the Ben fight. I will not need to weight drain this guy. Listen, Ben, you can come in at 180 if you want. Because he will beat the shit out of Ben, bro. Ben, and I feel sorry for Matchroom, and at the same time I don't. I feel sorry for them because I don't think they wanted to market Ben as a world champion, become a great fighter. They wanted to market him as pay-per-view, big name. That's what it was. And Ben fucked it up. So now they stopped between a rock and a hard place because his reputation in the sport is shit. Everyone hates him. However, he's not good enough to sell the hate. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're hated. So when you lose, it's over. And he will lose. He's calling out Spence. He will lose. One eye Spence will knock him out. He's calling out fucking Tank. He loses. Tank probably stops him as well. Haney's talking shit. Haney, like all these guys you're talking down on you will beat you. All of
Even
them.
Boots. He's calling out Boots.
Boots, yeah, called out Boots. Like, there's not one guy at that level that I give Ben a chance. I don't. And it's like, what are Matchroom gonna do? What are they gonna do?
You know what's funny, yeah? You know what's funny? Like, people talk about Haney's power and whatnot, yeah? But I think Haney drops Ben. I swear to you.
I was saying the same thing.
Not because, like, Haney's got, like, power on it, but I think, like, Ben makes so many fundamental mistakes where, like, he falls over his front foot or he overreaches and stuff like that. And against the top fighters, yeah, you can't do that because all it takes is like a split second and they've made you pay. And Conor Ben, like you said, like he's always been spiteful and whatnot, yeah, but him being spiteful and that masks a lot of his deficiencies. Like I don't know, like I just don't think he's great. Like, and I think he's just trying to oversell this villain act where he wants to be like a big bad villain. And to be fair, I don't think many people care for it. I don't think people are tuning in to see him lose. Like he's just I don't know, man. Like you said, like he needs a big fight, but at the same time, like no one wants to see him in a big fight because of his reputation.
Yeah. One thing I said, especially after the Van Heerden fight, I said if you put him and Virgil Ortiz at the O2, you will see Virgil Ortiz absolutely batter him because he makes too many mistakes.
Yeah.
You even on the juice, if you let Connor take whatever he wants, he will get battered because, like I said, you look good against Algiers, you can look against Van Heerdens who haven't fought in a while, who have lost their commitment to the sport because obviously COVID happened and they're quite past it. But you need to fight live fighters. Like, does he even get past the Eku Esselmans of the world, the Michael McKinsons, the David Avanesians, the Josh Kellys? The Josh Kelly fight was something they were looking at even when he was coming up, and he was sort of shrugging that, saying that's not my level.
Yeah.
So,
Do you know what? Yeah, I think what last night showed us or whatever was that. Thank God he didn't fight Eubank at 160 because Eubank would have got him out of there. Eubank would have hurt him bad.
Yeah.
Like, I think he looked at Eubank and saw sort of like someone else age and again he's doing this thing where like he seems to want Asian fighters to sort of like add to his record, but
yeah,
on the basis of like last night, Eubank hurts him bad.
Yeah.
and the thing about Dobson, people don't know this, but in October he was meant to fight, you know, that guy Pat McCormack. Now Pat McCormack is someone that Matchroom are quite behind because he's a decent amateur, but that's Pat McCormack's 5th fight. So for the fact that for the amateur fighter that's having his 5th professional fight, they're looking to match him with Peter Dobson, shows you the level that Dobson's at, and that he wasn't meant to be in there. He was there for Conor Benn to look good, and Conor Benn still couldn't look good. So that's crazy. Chris Welch says, where has Conor Benn's power gone? Maybe Conor Benn has laid off the eggs after all. He needs to get back on that diet. Mark, tell him about that eggs diet, bro.
Bro, go Accra, Kumasi, all the eggs you want, it's there.
He needs Eddie Abu as his nutritionist.
100%. Man.
Ben's last 2 fights have been against people offside the streets,
and he still didn't look good against any of them.
Yeah.
Ben's delusional as his teammates, as are his teammates, because where's his area title? Because he's not even area level, and I don't care about the WBC. The WBC would allow serial killers in boxing, to be fair.
Yeah. But listen, there's there's psychopaths in boxing and in MMA. So to be a fighter, I feel like you need to have some.
Yeah, you need to be a bit tapped. You need to be a bit
tapped. Like you need to be a bit.
You're getting punched in the head for a living. You have to be.
You have to be a bit psycho still.
Conor Benn's only fight should be in front of the British board and clear his name properly. Yeah, which is crazy. The fact that the whole thing started in October 2022, and we're in 2024, and he's still not able to fight in the UK, which is mad. Like they still haven't sorted that.
I feel like the British board are doing too much, though, man. I can't lie, guys. They're doing way too much. Like
they're trying to make a
trying to make an example out of him.
Yeah. But I think if he feels like he's that innocent, just I was gonna say just firm it, but like that's 2 or 4 years. I was gonna say just firm it, but then I realized that's potentially 2 or 4 years. Like,
everyone knows he's not innocent.
Yeah.
Everyone knows he's not innocent. Like he knows he's not innocent. Like Ben, just allow it. Like we know you're not innocent.
The thing is, it's like, can he continue to fight these level fighters like abroad for him to stay relevant? I don't think he can.
No,
and you can't fight these guys because no one knows them. Eventually, the British people are like, well, who's this?
Yeah, and the Americans ain't gonna fuck with you because you're not American, so they're not gonna have the same patience. When you're fighting Dobson and them, man, like you need to fight their boys. So, yeah, you can't. I don't say Eddie's pissed. He's in the most techie situation because how do you rectify this?
Also, guys like AJ, Amir Khan, what's his name, Fury, Atnia, they translate well to American audiences because they've got that sort of charisma and personality. Like Amir Khan's a joker, and everything is about him is just very funny to watch. Atni's got that charisma, so has Fury. But with Ben, I don't see that personality translating.
Like, no, you see Ben's personality. Yeah, I feel like it's not organic. It's just very. It's very sort of manufactured, like this, like the villain or the hard man, or whatever. Like, like you see, like this hard man thing he tries to do, yeah. Like, it feels really forced. Like, you know, like he's basically like a bully. That's what it is. He's basically a bully, and I don't think it's like for me, like, you know, sometimes you get sort of those fighters where they act like they show bravado and whatnot, and it makes you want to see them fight. But with Ben, it's just like you can see right through. It's very transparent. It's very transparent. Like like when Tank had that altercation with like Rolly when he was talking about like on Instagram when I see you like that was like real. Like you could tell like that's like he's from where he says he's from. But with Conor, it's like it's very much transparent. Like he's acting or behaving in a way where he's watched like a few like movies, like, do you know what I mean? And sort of picked up on a few things. Like it's very transparent.
I've never had a silver spoon all my life. I just GP doesn't very hard. I had a nanny. I had a nanny taking care of me. My mom wasn't even there. Like, yeah, it's just very his personality doesn't. He's not a star in my opinion. I feel like it's gonna be a project that's gonna fail eventually.
Yeah. And the worst thing about it is, he's probably it's gonna fail, but it's probably not even gonna be against like a massive name. Like he's gonna come up unstuck against someone, and then it's gonna clock him. Like when he got dropped against that French person, I can't remember that person's name.
Jake Paynold.
Yeah.
It's like so for example, like you know how they're trying to sell, you know, what's her name, Ebony Bridges. They were trying to sell us for so long.
Yeah.
And then she recently had a fight this year, and she lost to a Japanese boxer. Like like you're trying so hard to sell this person, but really their personality doesn't kick like that, and their ability doesn't also kick like that. So eventually it just falls apart.
Yeah.
Ben trying to claim he was injected while he was asleep, getting the bin. Yeah, man. The Conor Ben is a mess, man. But we'll see what his next fight is. They need Eubank. They on Matchroom need Eubank.
Yeah, but Eubank he can't do it because then he's getting a recall. Yeah, he's getting done by association. Like
no, but if they clear the case, he can do it. But he better make sure that he dominates the negotiations. Like you give me what I want. We do.
That's what he tried to do. He tried to say, "Oh, you said this is the biggest fight ever. Better give me this." And they're like, "Come on, bro."
Yeah. So
one thing about
it's gone so bad for Hearn because Hearn's now gone on IFL giving a message to Eubank like, "What are you doing?" Like stuff like that. Like they need.
One thing about Eubank is he's gonna get paid. He's definitely gonna get paid, and like every fight that we've we've witnessed of him, he's been very well sort of compensated, and you're not gonna sort of like undervalue him. Like he knows his worth in it, and like, he may not be the best boxer, but he puts bums in seats. Like, so yeah.
Okay, so so moving on. I mean, we're still staying in America. This is the last thing before we sign out. February is a great month, even though we're not getting the whole Fury Usyk card. It's a great month. We had Buatsi Azeez happen and all the fights under it. We've got on Thursday to look forward to Teofimo Lopez making his return, taking on Jermaine Ortiz. It's Teofimo's first fight since his, I'd say, performance of the year against Josh Taylor, where he absolutely beat up and looked amazing against Josh Taylor. And supposedly the plan is he's meant to fight in February, and it's a good fight. I mean, this is a great title defense against Jermaine Ortiz. And then supposedly the plan is try to get him again out in February, in the summer, in a unification fight, whether that's against Haney or against Subriel Matias. They're still exploring that. But obviously, Jermaine Ortiz is in front of him. And who is Jermaine Ortiz? Well, Jermaine Ortiz is the guy that beat Jamel Herring and put him into retirement until Herring came back out of retirement recently. He then took on Lomachenko, and Lomachenko really struggled in that fight with Jermaine Ortiz. He really struggled to deal with the athleticism and the work rate of Ortiz. And since then, he's kind of been looking for his way back towards a big fight. And this is it. This is another big fight, Teofimo Lopez. Ortiz hasn't, since the Lomachenko fight, hasn't been the most disciplined fighter. He missed weight, and they had to call off the fight because of him. So that's why they're doing this fight at 140. But in my opinion, this is a great title defense and a great voluntary fight. Like, of all the names you could pick for voluntaries, we've seen worse voluntaries. Jermaine Ortiz is a very tough fighter, and he's very athletic as well. So I think he can match Teofimo in that athleticism department, or at least keep up with Teofimo. But what are your initial thoughts about this fight? Mark, I'll come to you first.
I think, like I said, I think it's a good voluntary fight, and it's one of those fights where it could easily go wrong. Like, Jermaine Ortiz isn't a scrub by any means. he's definitely talented, and I think he's one of those people that are like overlooked because he doesn't necessarily have like a massive name on his record or like a standout like win on his record.
Yeah.
But like I think people that sort of like sparred with him or sort of like been around him or just like seen him just know he's a real live wire. So it can easily go wrong for Teofimo Lopez. But if Teofimo Lopez is the guy that he says he is, and we believe he is, he should have enough to beat him.
Jide?
Yeah, Jermaine Ortiz is a tough fight for him. Very tough fight. It's a proper banana skin. He's not going to look good, in my opinion. If Teofimo looks good in this fight, then he is who he is. Then he is the king of 140. I do not expect him. Well, okay, let me not say he's the king of 140, but he's there. He's basically top. Like, because I expect this to be a proper difficult fight for him, and which is why I find it weird that he's mentioning Crawford and all these other guys.
He's overlooking. Yeah, he's got a real live wire in front of him.
Like, this is what you did when Kambosos beat you, bro. Like, he needs to take this fight very serious. So, yeah, I expect it to be a tough fight. And if Teo looks great, then yeah, man, I want the Teo Haney fight straight. After that, that's what I want. If Teo looks great, I want the Haney fight straight away. If it doesn't, then I want the Matthias fight. But I just feel like none of these guys will fight Matthias. So if we can have like a little mini Super Six, or you know what I mean, Teo versus Ortiz, Haney versus Matthias, and the winner fights each other, that's my ideal situation. But yeah, that it's a tough fight for Teo, so Teo needs to pattern up.
That's the thing I love about Teo is like he'll like these title defenses aren't easy. Jermaine Ortiz, fighting Sandor Martin before the Josh Taylor fight. It's not, it's not an easy fight to have, but he'll do it. And then taking on Matthias when no one else wants to, he'll do that. But he's a crazy guy. He talks the most. But I'm not surprised he called out guys like Crawford or whatever in the build-up, because remember before the whole Josh Taylor fight, everyone was worried about his mental because he was talking about his relationship with his dad and like how that was fractured, and he was thinking about his own life and all of that. So he's one guy that you can't predict. But the fact that he is so crazy is, for me, what I think makes him so good in the ring. That he's able to switch. He's not normal. So when he's in the ring, he's able to switch into that second gear and just able to look so good in the ring. So, and you're right, if he does look good in this fight, it makes him look even better because of the name that he is fighting. Chris says Ortiz is one tough fight and beast, but Teofimo's level above, and he's got Lopez on points. Imagine if Teo knocks him out. Like, that's a huge statement, because look, this is the guy that Lomachenko really struggled with and arguably lost. Like, I went and looked amazing against him, and I went out and knocked him out. So I'm really surprised he took this fight as a sort of voluntary, because this is a voluntary fight he's taking, because he doesn't have a mandatory. And this is a tough voluntary of anyone. We're in an era where we've got so many champions who, when they have the option to take a voluntary, they usually do it against a lesser fighter. But he's done it against this is a very decent level fighter that's really going to test him. So it's an interesting fight, and both of them, like I said, athleticism is up there, so they're really going to stick it to each other. And I'm excited for it. I'm going to try to stay up for this one. Hopefully, like the Shakur fight, it doesn't let me down. Like we do get a good fight where the winner doesn't end up retiring because he doesn't get what he wants.
You see this fight? Is it Friday morning or Thursday morning?
Friday morning.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
Thursday night for us, basically.
Yeah, okay, yeah, cool.
So the only reason they're doing that again because the Super Bowl weekend, and they're not trying to get in the way of that. Basically, they want their own. It's the same thing they do with Shakur. It's not Super Bowl, but it's because the F1 was on the weekend. Do you think boxing should do that from time to time with like these type of fights? Stick to not Saturday programming, but move it to like a Thursday, so that they don't get so that the bigger sporting events don't take away from their events? Or do you think they're just overdoing it? What do you think?
I don't mind.
I think they should keep doing it this way, because boxing is falling off so much that they can't compete with that. What I think they should do is they should play into it. So let's see the Super Bowl, what time is going to be done, like have an average around the time it's going to be done, and then obviously the Super Bowl will take up 90% of people's time.
Yeah.
So you either do, okay, now the Super Bowl's done, come and watch this fight, or you do it as part of Super Bowl weekend, because the Super Bowl is not 2 days, it's one
Yeah.
day. You can say part of Super Bowl weekend, we've got this fight going on this day. Do you know what I mean? So you play into it. I feel like that's the best thing they can do, because obviously they don't have to say they're in direct partnership with the NFL. The NFL will try to charge them, but you can easily say, "Oh yeah, this is part of Super Bowl weekend." No one's trademarked that saying. Do you get what I mean? So I feel like that's what they should do.
Mark?
Yeah, I'm with Jide. Like, I think I wouldn't mind like sort of like a weekend, like a fights during the week, but I think it's hard for like sort of like different audiences as well, because again, like a lot of people, like during the weekends, like a lot of people don't really have like plans to sort of like go to bed early and whatnot, so it's a lot easier to watch fights. But during the week it's a bit difficult. But like Jide said, if they can sort of like marry that into sort of like their big sort of like events, I think it's mutual beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and it's a great card. I'm just going to quickly show you guys. Can you guys see? Yeah, you can see this. Yeah. One sec. Okay, so it's a great card because we've got Teofimo obviously versus Jermaine Ortiz. You've also got Keyshawn Davis taking on Jose Pedraza, and that's a great fight. That's Keyshawn's best opponent to date, and Jose's a real legit especially for a prospect coming up. He's a legit fighter to take on. Then you've also got Abdullah Mason, who I said is my prospect of the year for last year, and he's on the undercard as well. You've got all of their prospects like Javier Martinez, Charlie Sheehy. You've got like it's a good card to watch, and it's on a Thursday. So if you're not tuning in, catch it. Make sure that you're there after. Make sure you're catching the highlights, and make sure you're catching also. Top Rank have great talent. They've got stacked talent. So some people there that you do want to watch out for, especially Abdullah Mason and Keyshawn Davis. They're definitely gonna be ones that we're gonna start talking about in the big fights in the next 5 years. So it's great. It's good to look forward to. And obviously we then also got on Saturday what's it called? What's his name? Hamza Shiraz versus Liam Williams. So that's gonna be a decent fight to watch. And Anthony
I might go to that, to be fair.
It's in Copper Box, isn't it?
Yeah, I might go to that.
Fair
but
enough,
also, we've also got that Matchroom card as well, the next gen.
Oh yeah,
Craig Richards is part of that. That's on the Saturday.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Spider Richards is back, and hopefully we do see him in with another British light heavyweight after he gets his warm up fight, because he's been out for quite a while. He hasn't fought since the
Buatsi fight.
Yeah, which was
2 years ago.
Yeah. So it's a good month to look forward to, and we're going to discuss it more because there's a lot to come for, especially through the later half of the month. There's a lot of title fights going on this month, so make sure you're tuned in and you're subscribed. Make sure that you subscribe, you like the video if you're watching right now, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please give us 5 stars, and follow us on Twitter or X at Ringside Fracas, and on Instagram at Ringside Fracas, and we'll see you next week.
Peace out.